Welcome to part two of Mavericks Unleashed. As I mentioned, I've just been adding thoughts and ideas to this presentation for a couple of months, and I just thought it would be interesting to review what's on here. And I thought I would actually do all 50 pages in one go, but it's a lot of content, and I realized if I speed through it, I might miss important stuff. So I've broken it down into pieces. This is part two. Just because you can't see or feel it doesn't mean it's not there. This is an interesting one in faith for me because I know I'm always surrounded by my ancestors, my guiding spirits, and at times I even feel it as a presence in a room where you can just turn and just feel like there's some entity there. But there's also times when you get so lonely, so alone, where the signs aren't coming, where the messages are not there. And these are the times where you must remember that you're not your feelings, just like you're not your mind. And living in a tactile world where things can be touched, tasted, and felt, when things are not talking to your senses, your physical senses, you can at times start doubting what you know. But it's just a reminder that it doesn't mean it's not there. One concept that I recently came upon was the idea is that intuition equals I believe me. That's where your gut is like, don't listen to what your eyes are saying. Don't listen to the nothingness of the moment. I as then do in you the God essence of you. I believe you. I found it very empowering. Psychology is not just about fixing what's broken, but also about taking you from good to great. One day when I'm a multi-billionaire, I'm going to have billboards put up with, even before billionaire, maybe around the second million in dollar terms. I'll have billboards put up with these words because people believe that going to psychologists or self-help is about broken people fixing things that are wrong. But there is a concept in Ubuntu University that will explore at length the idea of below the line and above the line. And below the line is all the hidden fixing what's broken at a mental, physical, and a spiritual level. There's actually already a framework for it. But above the line is where you're going from good to great. So an example I like to use is the one of athletes and CEOs, where one company I worked for, their CEO had a compulsory session with the therapist every 2 weeks. And that's just to recalibrate. And because this person, he makes multi-million dollar decisions that affect people's jobs. Shutting down a factory could mean thousands of job losses, and that can take its toll on. And so that's where I realized that I would call them life gymnastics of psychology, where it gives you the necessary tools to go from good to great. And my sixth book was actually around that, how to lead in the 21st century. The title of the book is To Whom Much Is Given, but the second half of the book is it's called Courage and Character, How to Lead in the 21st Century. And one of them is about embracing psychology, sharpen your mind. A big thing for me this year was decalcifying my pineal gland, which is what all of us deep people are doing now. But from the water that we drink, brushing our teeth, eliminating fluoride, reducing toxins, sun gazing, meditating. My feeble attempts at yoga at this stage, but it's all about going from good to great. And as I started seeing the results, my own energy and focus is just better than it's been in years. So whilst people think those who seek help are broken people trying to be whole, it's actually champions trying to get to the next level. Whilst the rest of the world was on a quest towards spirituality, I sought a path towards what I called being deeply human. Another quote that just takes the wind out of me because a lot of these were written during a very dark phase in my life. And whilst there were so many signs that this was a spiritual journey, I've never aspired to live on a mountaintop and ponder the meaning of life all day, every day. I value it and I will one day go to Tibet and have my monk experience and retreat of sorts. But it's just never been what I aspired to. And so when spirituality became the all encompassing in my own life, I had to go back to my essence, and I'm an earth child. I love nature. I love walking barefoot. I love being naked. Yeah, I feel like I am being reincarnated, but I was around way back when. Just after we discovered fire because I can't do raw meat, but I like my meat medium rare, if you know what I mean. But I sought to just be deeply human, to feel it all, to experience it all, and to bear witness to it all. One of the modules we'll introduce is around the different sides of you, where you interrogate your personality as though it was a board sitting around a table in a boardroom. And the board is made up of different versions of you. And you explore the voices that each board member brings and the ideas that they bring and the value that they bring, but also the detriment. For me, it's been a very valuable exercise for many years, especially where I realize I had a lot of inner child trauma and issues. And I had also a very domineering, masculine aspect to my personality, one that said, don't be a sissy, write nice books about it and move on. And I would always make a secret promise to my inner child that one day we will sit and talk about this and work through this healing journey together, and we will feel and we will do all the crying we can't do now. And I realized since I became a full time farmer and I walked away from corporate, it's been an opportunity for that inner child to blossom because I've now got permission to just lock myself in my room and have a deeply therapeutic and cathartic tear session. And that's just all those promises I kept postponing to my inner child all those years, where I couldn't feel enough or didn't have time to pray or meditate or just be with issues of the world. Um, Recently, there was the plane crash in Ethiopia, just allowing my spirit to be one with all those who are affected by this tragedy and feel with them and pray with them and love them. That's being deeply human. And on a, I wouldn't call it superficial level, but it's just not one that's as profound. it was other aspects. I think I invited for my soul to know poverty, not permanently, but it's it's no secret that one has never gone to bed hungry, or even if it happened, it was just because maybe I was lazy to go to the kitchen and make food. And there was a certain humility that I feel like I lacked, because there's a lot of piousness that comes from always being the hand that gives. And very recently, I've started learning the gift of receiving on many levels. And it was also one that relates to being deeply human, because now there was a time when I didn't know how to send a please call me. Now, when someone says, I don't have 2 rand in my wallet, I can't be like, who doesn't have 2 rand? Like, seriously? It's something that I've now been exposed to, and I now know intimately. And to deny your own child, like my son goes to crash, and kids start getting exposed to things. And it was his first year at crash last year, and December holidays, we're here on the farm, and he's like, so mommy, we're gonna have a Christmas tree. I'm like, oh my god, who told you there are things called Christmas trees? But then you realize the child's exposure. And I'm here drying mint. We just harvested organic mint, and I'm drying it, like hanging it up. And he was like, mommy, so is this the Christmas tree? And I was like, oh my word. Yeah, it's it was hard for me to just reconcile some aspects of my identity with where I was at that point in time. And I'm gonna say this, I'm getting this mild feeling of shame when I think of December was what, 3 months ago. How much of that has changed? And I guess it's still part of that deeply human experience where financially things aren't as easy as they've always been. But we've never gone to bed hungry. And that sea of angels has never gone on leave or been AWOL. It's all still part of this divine life experience. And I'm looking to see more of that being deeply human. One concept that I'm looking forward to sharing is the one on ecstasy. The feeling of ecstasy, and ecstasy in its various iterations, because you can experience ecstasy when you finally shed those 15 kilos, and you experience ecstasy when you serve people who have nothing and you make a difference, and ecstasy when you create. For me as a creative person, even this is a form of ecstasy, because I'm getting to take all those thoughts swimming in my head and finally put them down and turn them into the dream that was placed on my heart. And it's all part of being deeply human. And I think our world just likes us keeping it safe. The extremes make most people nervous. And on one of my Twitter profiles, my bio is, the world tends to reject what the mind can't contain. Don't let that stop you. I really like that. The world tends to reject what the mind can't contain. Don't let that stop you. Oh my word, and that's the next one. I honestly did not see that, because I'm not looking at the next slide. Yeah, the world tends to fear what the mind can't contain. Um, Extremes, unpredictable, ungovernable, unprecedented, chaotic, unscripted. That is who we are as Mavericks. And it's colorful, it's bright, it's intriguing, it's lovable, it's exciting. It turns the world on. The idea of just having that thing. And in South Africa, when people say that thing, that cloudy thing, it's it's just that. It's just permission to blossom and wow yourself and delight the universe with all that you are. I love that synchronicity just now, by the way. And then on this one, we say, you keep saying it's over and you overcame it. But the truth is, whether for better or worse, you're not who you would have been if it had never happened. Yes, this this doesn't need translation. All of our past traumas, and I remember with me, a lot of them I wanted to wish them away. My congestion is actually getting worse, but I hope I can still, this video, the quality will still be good. But in all the past things I went through, you can say you're over it and I'm no longer that person, or and it's healthy to come out of it and say it no longer defines me. That's where woundiology comes in. And when you can allow the experience to no longer define you. But the first step is admitting that it happened. You can't unwish it, you can't rewind time. It happened. And yeah, just sitting with that truth, no matter how much I wish it didn't, it happened. And I'm not who I would have been if it hadn't happened. Whether for better or worse, underline for better. Because, as it's often said, the medicine that you have to bring to the world comes from your unique life experiences. And if they hadn't happened, you wouldn't be you, the version of you that's here listening to this now and ready to open up in ways you haven't before and start celebrating the God in you in all his or her aspects. Something to think about. The slide says the gifted ones. It's not really saying much, but I think it's the concept that in African culture, all uniqueness or all difference is considered a gift. And the concept of initiating healers together is one that involves bringing different gifts to the same space where uniquely gifted people can exist with each other and not have the stigma associated with gifts, but rather learn the tools of the trade and how to channel those gifts productively. So, yeah, I'll leave that there for now. I can see there's some slides coming up that are not relevant. So, yeah, this is part 2. Madlamini lo, ekajama inkosazana.